To me, people advisory is simply giving your client ideas around all things employees.
People advisory to me is making sure that people are seen and heard and they are felt.
Helping our clients manage their employees and manage their business in a way that's going to help them both grow, help their employees grow, and help them grow as a business.
If an advisor goes in and kind of helps someone start thinking about that in a holistic way, it can be a really more intentional strategy for how employers want to define who they are. Like, what is our culture? What matters to us? What do we want to be known for?
They want to have freedom. They want to just build a place that, in our case, we wanted to build the kind of company that we would want to work at.
Now that I've started looking at people advisory in a new and different way, it's helped me grow my practice.
When you start getting involved in that type of work, the relationship with the client goes so much deeper.
Just to dive into certain details that we wouldn't otherwise dive into.
And so they're going to keep coming back and asking more questions. And I think what that naturally leads to is the more confidence we have as firm owners and in a firm, and the more skills we bring out, we're just going to naturally find more service offerings to deliver, right? We're not still out there doing debits and credits the old way we were doing before as accounts. We've moved into lots of other practices.
The impact that I make with my clients is making them feel like they have someone to talk to when it comes to helping them manage and grow their business.
The thing you're offering to them is peace of mind that their people are being taken care of, that it's being done properly, and that it's something that they might be able to take back off of their plate and have it done professionally.
We want to see them succeed. I mean, that's why I'm in this. I want to see them succeed, because if they succeed, I succeed.
Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm Will Lopez, along with Caleb Newquist, who has more jokes than a hen house has jokes. We're live working from home at Gusto, and you are on the margins. Mr. Caleb, happy Tuesday to you.
Hey, Will Lopez. It is so good to be here with you. And it's so good that I remembered to unmute myself. I had a 2-show streak of not unmuting myself before when the show started. So the streak is broken and I feel good about it. I feel like I'm improving. I'm better than I was last time.
I was actually wondering if it was going to happen again. So I'm glad you pointed that out. And you sound excellent, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Unmuted.
Yeah, so do you. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, for those who are watching us, thank you so much for watching us. If you found us by way of LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, feel free to subscribe, hit the like button, follow us. That's where you're going to get more of Caleb's beautiful face every other week as we talk accounting and just all things accounting. So thanks for joining us. Caleb, how's your week going so far? How was the weekend with Valentine's?
Well, it was a little unvalentine because our kids are quarantined at home, their school is closed, and so yeah, so we're kind of like hunkered down. But I mean, it's fine. You know, it was a love fest in our house, and yeah, it was good. Yeah, I gave my oldest daughter. We thought this was the first Valentine's where she could get a few flowers from dad, and she liked that. And so that was
what
fun.
was her reaction? I'm just kind of curious. I mean,
well-
like I have 2 boys, don't have a girl.
Yeah.
So, you know, my boys are like, you know, with a majority of things. But
Right.
what was her reaction to flowers?
I mean, she was excited. I mean, I got her her little set of flowers in a little vase, a little short vase, and like she could hold it. And you know, the flowers were nice. And then of course I got my wife some flowers in a bigger vase. And so she saw the big ones, and like as excited as she was for the little one for hers, she immediately thought, well, mama and I are going to trade. So I'm going to get her flowers and she's going to get my flowers. So I don't know. She was trading up like right away.
That's awesome. Now, does the family or your wife or yourself have like a favorite Valentine's candy? Like, do you go for the chocolate covered strawberries, which is, you know, fairly typical this time of the year?
No,
Do you stay with classics like Nerds or something like that?
Well,
which are my favorite.
I mean, my wife doesn't eat Nerds because she gets Nerds all day long with me. So it's just one of those things. But yeah, no, as far as
she gets a pretty heavy dose.
It's a heavy dose of Nerd for sure. I mean, that's how she likes it. But as far as food goes, no, she's really nothing that comes to mind. What about you? Do you guys have like, do you have a Valentine's Day thing?
Well, so this Valentine's, we actually went with a little bit of unconventional dinner, which was, we didn't go out because our youngest just has like a little bit of a cold, not COVID, thank goodness. And so we made chicken and waffles again.
Oh, nice.
So we big fan of the chicken and waffles, and that was really fun. Waffle maker totally went kaput during the whole process. So got to get a new waffle maker, but I tend to go for Nerds during this time of the year. So for Valentine's, like if Hannah got me Nerds, I'd be all excited. And Twizzlers. I don't know why. I'm on a huge Twizzler binge.
Yeah. I like some licorice. They're licorice, right? That's what they are.
Yeah, and you can put them in a vase and they kind of spread out kind of nicely.
A little Twizzler bouquet.
Yeah, a little creativity with this accountant.
Okay.
Well, if you guys are watching, would love to hear what your favorite Valentine's candy is. Just go ahead and drop it in the comments. We'd love to see it, and we'll try to give you a shout out during the process. During today, we actually have a pretty jam-packed show. We have our upcoming segment, Love of My Life-O, which is our first segment. And then we're going to interview and bring on board Stephanie Holt, an incredible accounting professional out of Florida, perfect person to have on in regards to tough love this Valentine's week. Caleb, should we just dive right into it?
Let's do it.
All right. Love of My Life-O. Well, it's been a couple of days since Valentine's, which means that some of us thoughtful givers, well, we're still looking for the perfect gift. And for accounting professionals, the perfect gift cost-benefit analysis is nicely calculated in a spreadsheet. So when I think about my majority of my peers this Valentine's week, I can't help but wonder if they're showing themselves a little tough love, especially after a loveless 2020. So being real about your firm's potential can ease your way into appropriate tough love to clients. And a lot of it starts with a firm's perspective on going with the decade-old Go Cloud accounting.
Yeah, I think probably the most important thing is to shift the outlook of truly of your firm, of your profession, and jump and leap and go with it and just do it. We are going to go to the cloud. We are going to have a completely virtual framework for our office.
Ah, yes, Amanda Aguilar of Accounting Salon is right about diving into the cloud. But don't forget to shout cannonball while you're at it. I'm excited that many practices have found new mojo in response to the pandemic. I really am. But I'm also slightly concerned that our industry will merge the new with the very old ways. After all, I'd hate for my peers who are new cloud newbies have client meetings that look something like this.
Mr. Ponton, I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings.
It is, and I'm here live. It's not that I'm not a cat.
I can see that.
Well, we can all see that. So there's a catnip silver lining beyond that Zoom filter, which is an opportunity to merge firm service excellence with new firm flexibility. And it comes via some tough love from clients and from your peers. There's a stat in here. Give me 1 second. Sorry. Clients continue to demand more time with their accountants. Roughly 8 out of 10 expect more from their accounting pro than ever before. And they're not talking about that baby back ribs bouquets. Looks delicious. Also, a large majority of accounting professionals have formally reviewed their business practices within the last 12 months. So it's time for the other 26% to get on board. You see, your firm and your clients need you right now to ramp up its technology and remote client management game. And I've always seen our profession save lives and livelihoods time and time again. And I'm confident they will continue the course during 2021. And that's why I love being an accountant. But for everyone, for the sake of everyone involved, firms need to adopt new ways with new tech faster and push clients to do the same now. So Caleb, should accountants even consider changing? Should they even implement some tough love this year?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I've kind of been in the camp of firms are really good, accounting firms are really good at kind of resting on their laurels. So I think, you know, just because your firm is working and like it, you know, even though if you're if you're working remotely now, if your firm's totally remote now, like most are, but then as things kind of loosen up, you're gonna go back to the old way of doing things. I mean, I don't know. Hopefully most firms aren't doing that. And I don't know. A lot of firms have had it good for a long time. And so there's not a lot of incentive to change. But I think what people might be forgetting is that may impact their employees. It may impact their clients. So they need to kind of have a little bit of they need to turn a little bit of a critical eye on their practices to see what they can do, to see what they can make things better for everyone, just not themselves. You know, if you know, accounting firms enjoy, you know, some of the highest margins in professional services. And so let's put some of that money and energy back into creating a firm that is more sustainable and works more for your employees and more for your clients.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I think the accounting profession and accountants are notorious for not showing tough love to clients for fear out of losing them, right? And I think the profession's kind of riddled with that mentality. And I think for any normal person, calling your own baby ugly or your own practice ugly is probably not something one does every day. But looking at the last year, I seriously can't help but think and wonder if accounting firms are really taking serious what's going on right now, and whether or not they're going back to old recommendations of like, hey, use this spreadsheet to track your payroll, and saying, you know, I'm going to rescind that and say that's not a great idea at the moment. and saying, you know, I made a mistake, which is kind of like, you know, looking to the mirror for yourself. And let's get you into something better, because pandemic is still here. A lot of people are still working from home. And I think there's going to be heavy trends going forward of like this mixed work from home office life kind of thing going on.
Yeah, I just don't think it seems like there's so much kind of uncertainty still around, just from, you know, how we live our lives to how we work, and how in the case of accountants, how they serve their clients. So it just seems to me that if there were a time where you could try something different, you could try something new, you could take some risks, this would be the time to do it, because people are just like kind of used to things. People are kind of used to the chaos right now. They're kind of used to things being pretty far from normal. And so then, yeah, why not just take a risk right now when you feel like, I don't know, it feels like things are just kind of up in the air. And so, yeah, try something new, try to improve your practice, try to improve your business, not only for your clients, but like I said before, like for your employees, and who knows, you might even benefit you as a partner or owner.
Well, you know, And I think, what's really different now than personally I think I've ever seen the profession be is you can be really harsh on how you do things and implement new technology as a result of it. Because before, doing things like cloud accounting, it kind of sounded crazy, but now that everything's crazy, nothing's crazy.
Right.
And clients really, like I said in the monologue, have huge expectations from their pro now to not only advance the resources that the pro uses, but advance and widen like the service lines and the narratives and the consultation above and beyond, like, did I make money this month or did I not? What's my cash flow this quarter? And small businesses are really pushing pros to like, hey, you need to take a good look at yourself here. I need more from you, and you need to do this right now.
Yep. I have nothing to add. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty spot on. Also, by the way, love the Boston market with the barbecue bouquets. I mean, I think this should be a new trend for accounting firms to send clients those instead of the gift baskets.
I don't know if I can sign on to that. It's a little weird.
Is it really?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get meat in the mail. I mean,
well, you could show up, with like a bouquet in hand.
A live delivery. Delivery.
See, look,
it's like, here, let's have lunch.
Lunch on me.
I don't know. It doesn't feel hygienic. Maybe where everybody's now obsessed with cleanliness and safety. I don't know if sharing finger food with your clients is what you want to do right now. I don't know if people are there yet, Will Lopez.
Well, one last question before we actually move on to Stephanie. Yeah. In order of priority, let's say, for accounting professionals, when they think about a little tough love this year on themselves and their clients, what do you think should come first? Should it be tough love on yourself if you've not really advanced yourself? Which trickles down, let's say, to the consultation you give clients. Should you do that kind of tough love work with your client first, so you kind of get a feel of it, and then you kind of build up the confidence to do it yourself? What's your thought there?
I mean, the answer is going to be different for everyone, but I feel like it's.
Or should it be both at the same time?
I mean, I don't even know. I mean, if you're going to focus on something, I think you should get your own house in order first. So I think, yeah, you gotta, it's, I don't know. There's two ways to think about it, right? It's like, if you're going to practice what you preach, then you got to start with yourself. Right. But then there's always the philosophy of, well, do as I say, not as I do, right? The cobbler's children have no shoes. And so that's the case of a firm that's like, well, I'm going to focus on my clients because they're the ones that really need. And so it's kind of hard, but I guess if it were me, and if I was in a spot where I needed to make some changes, I think I'd focus on my firm first, get my house in order, and then take those learnings and then like try to apply them to my clients.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think you're right as far as, it's going to be different for everyone. And I think it's safe to say, I mean, SmartVault had that report last year, right? Like the most successful and the least successful firms during COVID. The ones that were most successful were the ones that had their house in order first and were ready to absorb, all the fallout on behalf of clients. And the ones that were least successful were the ones that were scrambling at the last second, trying to like implement the resources so they could respond to like client intake or client meetings. And perhaps they were doing face-to-face and that just got totally obliterated and they had to go to something like Zoom and experience that cat filter issue. But yeah, I mean, I think it's conservatively speaking, I think if you're not there yet with your practice, you really need to be there now. And I think you need to really just take a hard stare at what you do as a practice owner. And how that really does affect the way you talk and the way you guide clients. And I think that's pretty fair. So let's move forward with inviting Stephanie Holt to the show. But before we do that, if you're new to Gusto and you want to expand your advisory services and offer clients more value, Gusto is the people advisory platform of choice for modern accountants. It's powered by our people platform. We make it easy for accountants and bookkeepers to onboard, pay, and insure and advise their hardworking clients and teams when it matters most. And better yet, you can become People Advisor certified through the payroll industry's first ever advisory certification program. So as a people advisor, you'll learn to combine your financial expertise with people-focused guidance to better serve clients when they need it most. You'll get access to great perks to help support your clients and grow your firm. So partner with Gusto today. Introduce your firm and your clients to better people operations and more at gusto.com/get certified. That's gusto.com/get certified. So let's invite Stephanie Holt. So today we have the amazing, the incredible, the talented, and funny Stephanie Holt as our guest. We're lucky to have her on. She's the founder, or head guru in her words, of Cloud Accounting Gurus, a bookkeeping firm out of Northern Florida. Stephanie, welcome to On the Margins. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So first question here is, when you're thinking about Valentine, so hopefully you had a great Valentine's, and you're thinking about just tough love for yourself and for your practice and your professionalism, and then tough love for clients. What's your just initial reaction to all of that?
So I think for me, I've always given myself grace that I came from, learning my craft on legacy systems. And so I've always said that was the foundation. I don't show a lot of hate towards legacy systems because it's what I learned this trade on. And so I think there's a little bit of grace that you give yourself for that. And then you understand that you have to move forward in order to be able to better support your clients and your firm.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think Caleb and I would agree. And Caleb, I think you as well. That's how I learned real technical accounting, was in the legacy software. I remember the old days of implementing or transitioning a QuickBooks desktop to Mass 90 or something like that, made by Sage. Those were the good old days. Those were the good old days. But I think to your point, at some point you got to let go of that stuff and just say that was like a milestone moment, that's not like the ultimate landing location. Right. And I assume the way your firm works is, you've looked back at that experience that you've had and you've said, you know what, we're going to try to progress. And is that how you've approached it with Cloud Accounting Gurus?
So I had the benefit on my journey as a professional to go from having, kind of a one-man band bookkeeping business that was all legacy system, to then being pulled into a regional firm that was a hybrid. And then taking that, when I moved to Cloud Account, when I started Cloud Accounting, I was like, okay, I can take all the good from those experiences and then create Cloud Accounting. And that's, how that happened. So I had the benefit of being able to have these kind of transitional times in my life. And so I didn't have to transition a brand or a concept or a firm. When I left the one-man band gig, it instantly, I jumped into the hybrid gig. And then when I left the hybrid gig, I knew that I wanted to be fully cloud-based. So I had the benefit of the hard transition. Some people don't, but I still had those conversations with myself to say, when I start Cloud Accounting, this is what it's going to look like. And you have to be prepared for those.
Stephanie, do you think that we practice as people or as accountants is like avoiding these moments? Is that part of what we have to work through? How did you think about that? Do you feel like, was it something that you eagerly kind of embraced? Or do you feel like there was kind of this, there's this time period where it's like, well, I don't have to think about that right now. Was there some procrastination involved? What are some of the push and pulls of that transition that you went through, and how would you advise people that are going to go through it? What advice would you give them?
I definitely think, in being honest, that there's always procrastination involved. I mean, to some degree, right? Because it's, even if it's a great idea and you're going to implement it, it's like, oh, 30 days from now, right? Or it's never tomorrow, it's never in an hour from now. And you may say, well, I'm just planning it out smartly, but let's just face it, it's just buying us some time to kind of absorb it and get comfortable with the idea, right? And so I think in general, people are uncomfortable. I mean, if you've gone to any accounting conference, it seems like one session is always about getting out of your comfort zone, right? and and there's a reason for that, is because there's always value add on talking to accountants about getting outside of their comfort zone. But for me, and for, I think, a lot of people in this industry, I think some of it has to do with change management. When you've got employees that have been around a long time and they've been doing things a certain way, I think, particularly when you get to the point of being a decision maker, a lot of times you're kind of exhausted. You've gone through your career and you've, carried the torch, and you might just not be ready to deal with all of the pushback that comes with change management. And it was like, oh man, I thought in this season of my career, I would be, on coast, right? Versus rallying with my torch. And so I think that has a lot to do with it too, is that you've got decision makers that are kind of excited to be in coast, even if it means that it's a mild detriment to either their firm or their clients, or their employees for that matter.
Yeah. And when you work with your clients, I mean, I think that's a really real observation, right? Like, I think there are a lot of accounting firms that have carried the torch for a long time. And because of our industry has gone through, within, I think, 2 decades, some pretty major revolutions, right? Like from desktop software totally disrupting the space, to cloud accounting software disrupting the space again. And then a decade after that, COVID happens. There's fatigue in carrying the torch. They're like on 10 steps away from the top, and they're just taking a break at the moment
right.
from really landing the torch. But in your opinion, as you kind of look at yourself and your torch carrying, where are you with that in the torch carry with your practice? And then how does that kind of flesh out with your clients when you're trying to give them, like, either rescinded advice, or like advice that you may have rescinded on and said, you know what, I've kind of revisited myself, had aha moments, and here's what I think we need to do for you?
So I think for us in our firm, or I always say us, because me and my posse, we're a team. I can't do what I do. I can't do the part that I love to do without them. But we take it kind of like a switchback. So it's rally for the moment, get to a plateau, kind of enjoy the process that you put into place, really see how it mixes in with your workflow, and then look for the next climb. And that's kind of how I approach almost everything, because between being, a woman business owner, a mother of small children, and a wife and everything else, it's just, I have to take it like switchbacks. We climb, take a breather, a little rest break, observe everything that's going on, how people are reacting to certain things, and then look for the next thing that's going to benefit us. And then, as it's related to clients, a lot of times, I just have to bring them along on the journey, and they just have to trust that, what the recommendation that I'm making is going to benefit them. I mean, if I had a log of every time someone had said something to the tune of, I didn't know what this was going to look like, I just trusted you, but I'm really glad that we're where we're at right now. Like, it would be pages deep, because they trust the process, but they weren't necessarily on board. They just trusted me to do the right thing for them.
So what do you do? What do you do when it's a new relationship? Does that, like, when somebody, you get a referral or something like that, and they maybe don't have that kind of foundational trust? Like, what are those conversations like? When you assess someone, it's like, well, you're here and I'd like to get you here, and I know we're new. Like, what's that conversation like?
Caleb, it is like I am the buddy of the skydiver. It's they just you have to come. Like, you have to come. I'm going to protect you. I'm the one that pulls the chute. I try to give them as much coddling and validation that I'm going to be that guy that pulls the chute and helps them, but like we're jumping out of the plane. Like this
And you
is
can scream all
happening.
the way down if you
You
have
can
to.
scream the whole way down. You can freak out at the bottom. It's
Yeah.
totally cool. But we're doing this thing. We're
Yeah.
jumping out of this perfectly good plane. And you're going to love it when we get there. Right. And so in our client meetings, especially like those new getting to know you meetings that we have, I mean, I basically kind of do a hard break-in. It's like, are you going to be able to be the person that lets go of the airplane and lets us jump out? If you're not, then you're probably not a good fit for us. And I'm totally down with a hard sell. So usually if it's not a good fit, it's because like they're a brick house. Like there's nothing I can do to get them to come along on the ride.
Now, when you find yourself in those moments though, like, do you lean in harder trying to like validate the case to help them see the light? As far as like a hard sell, like, okay, yes or no, this is what we do. But do you go further? Like, obviously if you're taking that analogy a little bit further, someone's attached, they're ready to go. And now they have like their hands on the door and they're like, no, Stephanie, we're not going to go. Like, do you lean in harder and say, no, I'm going to just rip right through this and we're going to try to make this happen?
Oh yeah. Because the thing is that if they've made it to the point where they're making an appointment on my calendar, then there's a shred there, right? There's something like my website, tells us we're all cloud-based. Any referral that's going to have come from one of our clients is going to have come with the idea that we put them on these systems that are making things better. So if you've made it through the doors of my office or made it onto a Zoom call with me, there's a shred and I'm just going to hold on to it until like my hands are lifeless. And so, and that's pretty much, what we do. And normally, yeah, there are some people that we have to, really dig deep into understanding how, one system or another system is going to make it better and really give good examples. Like, hey, now your employees are going to be able to do this. And now your employees are going to be able to do that. And you're going to be able to do this. And it's going to empower you to do that. And sometimes I got to go down a pretty exhaustive list to get there, but I'm not afraid to do it. So I'll just keep hammering until I don't think I've ever gotten to the end where I've had said like, all right, there's no other benefits that I could tell you to get you here. Like,
interesting.
Challenge accepted though.
I was going to say, in your experience, at least in my experience, I've never received a lot of pushback when I am showing some tough love in that moment where they're like, yeah, I don't know if this is going to make sense. And then I just lean in harder. I don't think they say, nah, you have no idea what you're talking about. I assume it's the case on your side.
Oh yeah. I don't think I've ever had anybody challenge me like that. They'll listen and you can tell that the wheels are turning and they're getting a little more on board and a little more on board. And I don't mind going a little bit further down the rabbit hole than I would even have to, right? Because that means that I've gotten them further into, further out of their comfort zone and further on board with me, which means that everything is going to be better. And part of like everything about that migration process is going to be better. And why that becomes important to me is because yes, in front of me, I might be able to like give you the juju that makes you feel like we're a skydiving team and it's going to be all good, but you're going to go back to your office or you're going to go, you know what I mean? And that's going to be full of your legacy system peeps, right? And they may be naysayers. And so if I have to go a little bit further down that rabbit hole so that you're really engaged and on board, then that's even better for me because now you're empowered when you go back and you're still excited, even beyond the naysayers. It's like, nah, it's okay. They're just being a naysayer. I'm on board. I'm excited about this.
So how does that translate from technology? We've been talking a lot about technology, but how does that inform you when it becomes talking about their business, like what they're actually doing? And when you occasionally you're looking at performance or you're looking at some other different aspects of their business, maybe it's part of the story that you're telling you. How do you make suggestions or how do you kind of lead clients down a path that they may not be comfortable because it's more about how they do business or how the product that they make or the service that they provide? Like, how does the technology transition How do you apply that in more of kind of a business operations transition?
Part of those conversations are very much about the workflow and how that's going to affect somebody and how much change management is going to be required based off of the position that that person holds within the company. And I think the more that you talk about that, even if it's to say there will be no change, hey, you move this invoice from, this manufacturing spot to this manufacturing spot, you're still going to do that. And when you have those conversations too, and you acknowledge the things that are going to change and the things that aren't going to change, it also makes them feel comfortable that you understand what's going on in their business and how it's truly going to affect them. Because if you don't, even though in your mind you may be thinking, oh, only these things are going to change, by expressing and sharing that you understand the things that aren't going to change, then it gives that comfort that they know that you really understand what's going on and how that's going to affect them and their team.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty spot on. And I think what's hard to balance, especially in today's day and age, is that technology or the business performance, because one is one or the other, what's up first always leads into naturally to the other side of that conversation. You can be talking about business performance, or let's say take the example of restaurants during COVID, right? Like that is business performance impacting issues. And perhaps they didn't have the tech that went with that that allowed them to sell online and do shopping carts for meals and all that kind of stuff. And so I think that's really spot on. In moments where you're trying to help business owners see that, tweaks here and there can really advance their business performance, yet they're kind of committed to their own workflows, just like we are as accountants committed to ours. How do you guide conversations like that?
So, I mean, for us and for me and the way that I sales engineer, it's really talking about where they're at and where certain systems can take them. And also sometimes when you're in that decision maker role, a lot of times you don't give the same weight to a change that maybe a team member would. And so that's something else that we do, is we tend to share instances of other clients where, hey, when we had a client that switched from this legacy system to this, some of the feedback that they got from their employees was X, Y, and Z. And then they're like, oh, I didn't think about that, because that's not the role that they're in, right? And that's not the place in their professional journey that they're in, as far as worrying about certain things, or, having to get a W-2 or getting a pay stub, right? They're the owner usually, or upper management. It's like, oh, I just go to HR and get my pay stub, right? You know what I mean? And so it's things like that where it gives them time to process like how it's really going to affect everybody else, and how little things can really, improve, the workplace, and how people think about their job too.
Yeah, there's definitely a for lack of a better phrase, a trickle down effect to the way you guide clients, whether it's, just soft love or tough love, whatever the case may be, and really trying to help them just marinate on. I got barbecue ribs on my mind, by the way, but really marinate with that advice and consultation that you're trying to give.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I disagree with Caleb. If you want to show up at my door with a bouquet of barbecue ribs, I will not deny them. Just putting that out there. We don't have a Boston marketplace here, though, so you're going to have to get creative. But yeah, no, I think, when you invited me to this segment, I had told you about how so many of our clients are like, hey, they'll text or they'll send an email and say, hey, I made an appointment with the principal's office, right? So they know that they're going to get tough.
Is that the actual language they use?
Oh, all the time. Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I literally, when my office manager would take calls and be like, hey, so-and-so wanted to see when they could come in and get yelled at. Like, and that's not that I'm actually yelling at them, but it's tough love. So, it comes from a a motherly place. It comes from a principal place. And so they absolutely make references of like, come into the warden's office, the dean's office, the principal's office. Those are direct quotes. The warden one, I was like, oh, but then I realized how far we had to take that client on that journey. And I was like, okay, maybe it was fitting.
Well, that's great. So Stephanie, we're live on 3 different platforms. Can you tell everyone just like where they could find you, how they could follow you on social media? I'm sure we have some business owners that are watching the show, especially on YouTube. How can someone get a hold of you and check themselves in for the principal's office?
So www.cloudaccountingguru.com. Contact us page. I've got a live calendar that's up for anybody to make an appointment on. So we keep that open and free. You can visit us there. Any other business owners, accounting professionals, like, hey, you think my mojo is your mojo and you'd love to talk some of your next steps out with me and come get some advice from the principal's office, like feel free to make an appointment as well. We love seeing other accounting professionals move their firms forward and make better decisions. And sometimes you need to talk to somebody that's been through the journey.
That's awesome. You could also friend her on LinkedIn as well. She's a great LinkedIn buddy. Caleb, you want to wrap us up and thank Stephanie for her time?
Thanks for your time, Stephanie.
You're welcome for my time.
No, seriously, Stephanie, thank you so much. And I think, there's so many nuances to the profession, right? Like firms that have been around and are still trying to like carry the torch forward, and there's some fatigue there. So thank you so much for offering even just your time as a thought leader to other pros that are considering on progressing the practices. And for anybody who wants to connect with Stephanie, she's awesome to work with. So Stephanie, thanks for coming on and sharing a little bit of tough love with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, Caleb, hey, I feel like tough love is the thing. Soft love sounds like it's there too. It's just love all the way around, right? This feels like the 60s.
Yeah, it's a love fest.
It's a love fest.
Yeah. All right. Good show, Will Lopez.
Good show.
Good show. All right. This edition of On the Margins Live was written and produced by Will Lopez and myself. Our co-producers are Mohini Kundu and Andrea Garcia Vargas. Video and sound production by Waylon Janwick and Rylan Harris. Our graphic design is Paul Choi. Our next show is March 2nd. And so until then, for Will Lopez, I'm Caleb Newquist. We'll see you out on the margins. Thanks for tuning in.
See.